Hi, this is your week 13 updates. This is all about data and analytics, and I'm very excited to be able to demo our next phase of remote learning dashboards. The purpose of the sessions going on right now is all about doing an in-depth conversation about very, very specific topics. And so the first week, 2 weeks ago was Chromebooks, last week was home internet, and then today is data and analytics. So what I'm going to do is go backwards and talk about what we have been doing over the last few weeks with some of our dashboards and then where we're going from here. And I will show you a demo of our new remote learning dashboard. So before we go into the new dashboard, I want to talk about some of the challenges that we have. Now, we were all thrown into remote learning in a very, very short amount of time and with very little information or time to prepare. And so that's why we created a number of dashboards for you to help manage whether something like Chromebook deployments and hotspot deployments to Clever Analytics and Google Classroom data. Now, we knew early on that these data sets are going to be a challenge because we're presenting them to you as independent, different dashboards. And that requires you at the school level to have to connect the dots between all of these. And so you're going to have to look and see who's not logging into Clever or Google Classroom and then say, well, is it because they need a Chromebook? And so while we needed to get you information as fast as possible, we also knew that our long-term plan has got to be to bring all of this together. And that's easier said than done. But all of these dashboards that you're used to will eventually be fading away as the new remote learning dashboard comes into effect. What you're going to see over the next few weeks and few months is each of these dashboards slowly starting to be decommissioned as that functionality is built out into the remote learning dashboard. So everything you're used to using, while you may be frustrated having to go to different places, we're excited to bring all of that into just one place. And then the next purpose or the next challenge that we hope to solve is the discrepancies or inaccuracies of just showing one slice of data. And so if I jump into the Clever data for a second, you have your Clever login data, and every data set, no matter what it is, every data set has its strengths and weaknesses. And so when we present schools with this information, we knew there are holes in that data. If an application is not in Clever, it's not going to be shown or reflected in the data. Or if the student went directly to that app instead of logging into Clever, that's not going to be reflected in the data. And so if we look at each of these data sets as a slice of cheese, and each one has its holes, the only way to account for this is to stack those data layers on top of each other. And so each layer of data covers up the holes of the one below it. And so then eventually we get to a point where we have an entire block of cheese where there are no holes or there are no gaps. And that's where we have really been investing our time over the last few weeks, is getting all of our data sets into the same place so that each layer's strengths can cover the weaknesses of the one below it. So we piloted this data dashboard, this new system with a few principals, and they were very impressed with the accuracy in showing the online activity is very reflective of what teachers are saying for in-class attendance, both from our data that we're collecting in daily attendance, our class attendance, as well as what we're hearing from families and students and teachers. So how do we get to a solid block of cheese? Well, we're going to have to stack a lot of data on top of each other. And so what we have right now, and this is just what we have right now, we'll be able to add layers in over time, is we started with student information. Obviously, every student in this school, in your school or in the district, some basic demographic information about them, and we've even included contact data, so you'll be able to call a student. You get their phone number right from the dashboard. Clever logins and usage, which you're used to. We did go a little layer deeper into this one, so not just did they log into Clever, but how many apps did they actually click into once they were in there, and what apps are they using, and how much time do they spend. We also added Google Classroom logins, and you're going to see what the next layer of usage data for Google Classroom will look like. We've also incorporated G Suite app usage. What that means is not just did you log into your email, but did you send an email? And that accounts for different devices being used. You may have a student who's logged in on their phone and they sent an email. That's captured in our new dashboard. So you'll be able to know a much more accurate picture of of who's participating, even if you don't see a login record for that student. We also incorporated Zoom sessions. Zoom being the big platform that teachers are using for lessons, we wanted to make sure that that data is incorporated. So we've hooked up into Zoom's API. And if you're not using Zoom, you're probably using Google Meet. All of that data is in here as well. So we have all of our video sessions captured. And then the big data set is iBoss. Now, iBoss is our content filter. It's what blocks students from going to an inappropriate site. Now, in school, all of your internet traffic goes through iBoss, but how does this get done at home? Every Chromebook and every BPS student's profile has had this iBoss agent pushed out, so they're actually filtered or blocked from going to inappropriate access at home. And what that does, though, is it captures... Sorry, I'm going to have... This guy's got to go. Sorry about that. We also, with iBoss, we're able to capture every click that a student makes into an application or out of an application. We're able to capture how much time they have spent on a website, whether it's YouTube or Google Classroom or ClassDojo. And we're able to capture every device that they may be using. So it's going to be BPS Chromebooks, personal Chromebooks, Macs PCs, iPads, you name it. The iBoss content filter is capturing all of that traffic. So this is the big catch-all, right? And regardless of whether or not your students are using these tools up above, iBoss is capturing it. So even you're going to see ClassDojo data is in there if a student just goes directly to ClassDojo and never hits Clever. And then finally, we layer in our Chromebook assignments. Of course, this covers it up. So you'll be able to quickly see for the students that are not logging in, do they have a Chromebook, and how do I get them a device? So all of this is meant to bring all of our data sets into one place and give you a much more accurate picture of who is logging in, how much of their engagement is online, and give you hopefully what we feel to be more accurate and timely information to help you planning and delivering remote learning. So we're calling this the remote learning dashboard, and this is something that while it may not sound appropriate to roll out at the end of the year, this is going to be extremely helpful during summer school that we know is remote. And then also as we start to hear about plans for the fall, as we start to plan out what our year is going to look like in the fall, we still feel that this can be a very valuable tool. And it's going to be able to help you with student activity, both those students who are in the building as well as those who may be still working remotely. So without further ado, let's dive into this and see what this is. I'm going to show you 3 different dashboards, and the fourth one I'm just going to show you a screenshot because it does have student data. I can't show you every little possible tool within this because it does get to a student level pretty quickly, and I don't want to expose any student information. And I've also done one thing to keep this demo about the system and not about the overall data or performance data, and that is I've shrunk my time period to just April 25th. That's the Saturday of vacation when everybody should be outside. And so you're going to see our data looks very, very low in here, and that is just because I've set my time period to be one day, one Saturday. So right at the top, this is the at a glance page, and this gives you an overview of how many students are logging in and how many students are not logging in. And my first dimension is I've done it by grade level on the left side, and then I've done it by a special group, so English language learners, special education, Hispanic, Latino. I can change it to race or ethnicity, and all of these graphs will repopulate with the different race ethnicities in our district. Or in your school. If you don't see the particular graph populate, or fully populate, that's just because there wasn't any information for that, either grade level or race ethnicity in that time period. So again, I've just done April 25th, and I can see I've got 23.65% of my students that have been active in that time period. Again, that's on a Saturday, so it's pretty impressive that about a quarter of our district was still doing something online on a Saturday. Each of these buttons in the upper right will give you a drill down. If you wanted to drill down into that information and see it by week or by day, or even do a comparison of grade level and or gender. So that's the drill down button. But that's it for the at a glance. It's just meant to be a very high level overview. The next page on the left side is our usage analysis, and that's where you're going to dive into this into a much more granular detail. So I'm going to jump over here, and again, I've switched it to just April 25th. And on my left side, I have my students that have logged in and my students that have not logged in. So those are numbers that I can switch in between. And I want to stay just by looking at my students that have not logged in. I do have teacher data in here, but we don't have the same amount of information on teachers. So this is pretty much all that it's going to ever be. We're not going to build out any more dashboards that look at teacher login data for the simple reason of we don't have the same amount of information. We don't track teacher usage. We don't track teacher activity like we do with students. So that's all that there's ever going to be with teachers. And I'm going to focus in on my students. I'm going to go down to look at the 4 different ways that we can break apart this data. So the first and my favorite is the map. So this is, right now I'm seeing a map of every school in the district. I can, if I scroll down, I'm going to see a little bit of a legend as to what this is telling me. So if I scroll down here, let's pick this dot right here is the Beethoven. I got to pick the Beethoven because I'm wearing their zooming into first grade t-shirt for today. If I click on this one, which I can't do because it's going to show student data, everything else is going to disappear, and you're going to see a dot for every student in your school. And that dot is going to change color depending on high level of activity or below average activity. And the dot will also be different to show you if they have a district Chromebook or a BPS Chromebook or not. And so this map will allow you to say, I've got a neighborhood of the city, or I've got a single student where I'm seeing very, very low usage and they don't have a Chromebook, because I can filter and say, just show me the students without a Chromebook. And then you click on their dot and you'll see their name, you'll see their contact information, you'll see the last time that they logged in, and hopefully that will be information to help you decide is this a student that needs additional hardware support, or maybe they already have the Chromebook and there's something else that needs to be addressed. So that's the map view. Very, very cool to see a layout of where all students live. And I should clarify, this is their home address. This is not where they are located based on network activity. We are not doing that. The next drill down is a dimension view. And up in the right corner, you've got a gear. You can change how you want this tree to be laid out. Right now, I just have it by school type, grade level, gender, and then economically disadvantaged populations. And when you click on the end of each tree, let's do early childhood. I'm going to move myself up here. I'm going to see the next branch, and then I can click on my first grade and see that broken out by male or by female. Now I've just got a smaller resolution for the broadcast, but you kind of get the idea, and I can break this out by male or female as well. And all of this is configured using this gear icon. So if you wanted to change how you want that breakout to be, you just have to click that gear and fill out the values, and it's just cutting off because of my resolution. The time pattern analysis, now this doesn't look very helpful right now because I've only selected one day, but this is going to give you a calendar of high activity or low activity, and then again you can configure how you want this to be broken out. I've just set this by default for me to be by race or ethnicity, and you can set this to be gender or grade level. And then the last screen is the school view. Now you're probably asking, if I do a particular date range and I want to look at my students that have not logged in, how do I actually see who those students are? Well, you're going to click on this school view, and you're going to see your school's name. And there are some metrics over here that I'm purposely covering with my video because I don't want to show how each school breaks out. But you'll be able to click on your school name. You can do this now, and it will pop up a list of all of the students that fall into that category, whether or not you're looking at students that have logged in or students that have not. So that's how you get to the student level very, very quickly, and that is by checking off one of these values and clicking school view. The last screen is the EdTech overview, and to kind of show you what this looks like, this is just a breakout of all the different applications that our systems are seeing your students using, and organized by top to bottom. So the number one application by far is Google Drive, with on average 23,000 students using the app. And I do have a longer date range here. I could set this for a particular week. You'd probably want to exclude weekends because that's not going to give you the most useful data. And then you're going to see on average how many students are using that particular app. And I can click on this and actually see a time trend analysis. I can see a student dimension view. If you wanted to see, for Class Dojo, how often is it being used, or what populations of students are using it. You want to make sure that your application is being accessed equitably across all different grade levels and genders and race ethnicities. So that's the application view. And you can kind of get an idea for all the applications we're capturing. We're even seeing a number of students using Pinterest on a daily basis. So while we don't have a system integration with Pinterest, that demonstrates that the network filter is capturing everything that a student goes to, regardless of what device or how they accessed it. So that's the EdTech overview. The last dashboard, which is not live yet, I have to show you with a screenshot, and that is the student learning and progress view. Now this is where you get past just did they actually get online, and now you get to see how much are they engaging. So we'll have a classroom view at the top, and then the student view to expand on this one. This is for a sample student. You'll see the devices that they're using, the frequency and time spent that they're actually visiting. So if you wanted to look to see, is a student accessing learning apps Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or is it just on certain days? And this will be very helpful if students come back for part of the time, or if they're in person for some learning and remote for others. This will allow you to see, are they accessing the apps in the same frequency? And then this is where, I gotta go back. Sorry about that. This is where you will see the frequency in which they engage in a tool like Google Classroom. So you'll actually get to see the number of assignments and postings that they've been assigned to, and then their frequency of completion. So it's not intended to be a tool for accountability. This is not intended to be a tool where you're going to have to, or you're going to see a negative impact on student learning. This is really around giving you a layer below just are they absent or are they present. We want you to see not just are they attending class, but what is the efficacy of their learning engagements. So that's the purpose of this one. This isn't live yet, but it's very close to being ready. So then the final question you might have is, so when is this going to be ready? And the great answer to that is you are able to log in and see a beta of the tool right now. Everything that I've shown you is available right now. Principal accounts are all set and done. And so you can click on this link and as a principal and see your school data and play around, and hopefully you'll find something you can give us feedback on, and hopefully something even more, hopefully something that will be able to help you. So in terms of the timeline for this going live, we're going to slowly phase this one in as we start to phase out our other dashboards. And our goal is for you to be able to use this now moving forward, however you see fit. And as you find areas where you'd like us to invest more development or more time, then you'll be able to provide that with feedback. And then we'll get to a point, hopefully over the next few weeks, where we can get rid of our existing dashboards, the Chromebook dashboard, the hotspot tracker, all those kinds of things will start to go away as this supplants that. So that's it for today. This is a little different from the last few sessions because rather than talking about what's going to happen a few months from now, I actually want you to use this today and test it out. And with that being said, I will see you next week as we talk about our systems and our applications. And this guy will say goodbye to you as well. We will see you next week.